Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Steven from NWSmallBatchBrewing here. Today is a brew talk, and I want to talk about fruit. And this is a huge subject that I cannot possibly really cover everything in one video. And I don't have all the answers. I just know what's worked for me. And so I was thinking it would be cool to do a little video because I get a lot of questions. I see a lot of questions when it comes to fruit. It's going to be in the way here. I don't know. Anyway, so let's start with different fruits first, then I'll move on to how I deal with fruit in beer. Okay. First of all, I think that the easiest fruit to work with that has the most flavor that carries over is cherry. Now, some people don't like cherry because it can have like a cough syrupy kind of quality to it, because a lot of cough syrups use cherry flavoring to cover up medicine taste, right? But if you're like me and you love cherry, it's good. The only problem is it takes a lot of cherry to get a robust amount of flavor. So that's why a lot of times, beers that have cherry in them are expensive, because it takes a lot. I would say you could use up to 4 pounds of cherries per gallon of beer to get the flavor you want. So it's a lot. And remember, when you think about that, that means you also need a lot of headroom and space. You need a pretty large fermenter compared to the beer volume that you're making to be able to, hold all that. I'm going to go down a little list I made. I can't cover every fruit that's out there, but some of the more common ones. Let's talk about peach. Peach is one that confounds every home brewer. Honestly, I don't recommend peach. I'm not even a fan of peach in general, so I wouldn't make a peach type beer anyway, because it's just not my favorite flavor. But the problem with peach is it's such a subtle flavor, it just sort of disappears. Like it doesn't hold up. A really good substitute, and what I do recommend, is apricot. Now, apricot, I don't know if you've seen, what is that apricot beer? Was it, gosh, I can't think of the brewery. I don't even know if they're still around anymore, but that was like their signature beer. They made this apricot beer. Apricot holds up surprisingly well. You again need a lot of it, just like the cherries, to really get a good robust flavor. So same thing, I would use about the same amount, 4 pounds per gallon of apricots. But apricots can have a peach-like flavor to them. Blueberry, no, don't use blueberry in beer. It just doesn't hold up. The flavor doesn't translate the same, and there's a reason why you really don't see blueberry beers. Raspberry is good though. Raspberry is really good, actually. It's right on par in my opinion with cherry as far as how well it holds up in beer. And you don't need as much. You need like maybe 1 pound per gallon for raspberries. So those are pretty good. I definitely recommend that. Blackberries are also good. But you need more of them in order to hold up in a beer, something like 3 pounds per gallon. But blackberries are good. Strawberries are kind of on the fence for me. They are not great because they are, believe it or not, they are kind of a subtle flavor. You would need an awful lot to try to get a decent amount of flavor. You'd need like 5 pounds per gallon, and it fades quickly. So if you use strawberries and the beer sits there for a while, it ages or whatever, it's the flavor is going to kind of dissipate anyway. So I don't recommend strawberry. And apples. I guess you could say apples. It's another popular fruit, but there's a reason why you don't really ever see apple beer. Again, apple is too mild. It just doesn't hold up. You can't get that flavor to be very strong and robust. So it's not one that most brewers will use. So keep in mind, one of the biggest problems with adding fruit is, of course, you're adding a lot of extra sugar that you really can't quantify very easily, right? So you're going to be upping your ABV, but you don't know how much, and that can affect the yeast and puts a strain on the yeast. So make sure that whatever yeast you're using, it has a decent, amount of ABV that it can handle, like a tolerance, because you just don't know how much you're adding. You can guess, but you don't know. Now, how do you deal with the fruit? Lots of people have lots of ways to do it, and they swear by the way they do it. I have a way that I do it, and I swear by the way I do it. First thing I do is freeze the fruit. It does a couple things. It breaks down the cell walls, releases more juice. Some people swear by freezing the fruit, thawing it, and then freezing it again. I don't do that, but I do swear by freezing the fruit. Plus, it helps. It doesn't freezing it. It's not going to kill everything on it, like as far as bacteria and stuff, but it will help. It definitely makes a difference. The other thing is I almost never add fruit during the mash or the boil or anything like that. Heating your fruit is going to change the flavor and the build of that fruit, and it's not going to taste the same, right? Cooked cherry does not taste the same as raw cherry. So I don't recommend cooking, putting it through a boil or heating process. But some people do. I'm just saying. So step one is I freeze it, and then I wait until the beer is I generally ferment for a month, so about 3 weeks in, maybe 2 weeks in, so at least halfway. So it's gone through its primary fermentation, it's kind of settled in, and then I put the fruit in. All right, the frozen fruit and any juice that was with it. Now I put it in a bag. You've got to put it in a bag, or else it's a mess. I lost my train of thought here. What was I going to say? I was going to say something that was important. Well, anyway, I'll keep going, and it'll probably come to me. So you put it in a bag, like 2 weeks or so in. I know I was gonna mention the reason I wait until you're at least 2 weeks into the fermentation is because you have a strong yeast colony in your beer at that point, and you have a decent amount of alcohol. Those two things are going to really help prevent any kind of infection from happening by adding the fruit. Plus, you froze the fruit ahead of time, and that helps. So you're going to be pretty sorted at that point as far as not causing an infection or a wild yeast to take over. And that's about it, right? You remove the at least I do. I remove the fruit before I finish the beer because you don't want that sitting there in the beer for a long time. So a couple weeks and then get rid of it. Also, you want it to be below the surface of the beer. So weigh it down if you need to with some glass weights. Don't let the fruit float across the top or it can get moldy. Some people are now using concentrated juices. I'm actually going to be trying this on an upcoming beer. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I've been doing these little small batches of this cherry chocolate stout that I'm trying to kind of dial in. And last time I used cherries. I think I'm gonna try a concentrated cherry juice next time and see how that compares flavor wise. Obviously it will be a lot easier to deal with than using fresh fruit, but anyway, that's something to think about. And then I guess the last thing to point out is that fruit can cause a lot of haziness in your beer. So if you're worried about that haziness, when you pitch the fruit, pitch in some pectic enzyme. That's hard to say. Now, some people don't like to use it. It's like they say it's a chemical. It's not natural. Whatever. It's up to you. You make that decision for yourself. But follow the directions on the package. You can get it at homebrew stores, and that will help remove the pectic haze from the beer that's formed from the fruit. Anyway, I'm out of time. I hope that gives you a jumping off point for fruit in your beer. I'll be back in another week for another video, and until then, happy brewing.